In the hearing room of the United States Congress, Congressman Ted Lieu, Democrat from California and former Air Force JAG officer, stands before Kash Patel, FBI director. The central topic revolves around files related to Jeffrey Epstein and the investigative work conducted by the agency. Lieu, known for his experience in military interrogations, initiates a series of technical questions about the FBI's internal procedures, establishing the pace of what would become one of the most tense moments of the session. Congressman Lieu opens his speaking time with an apparently routine question, how the FBI determines which cases reach the director's personal attention. Patel responds that cases of national relevance and significant impact are forwarded to his desk, following protocols established by the agency. The answer seems routine, but Lieu doesn't immediately move to the next topic. Instead, he requests clarification on how exactly this screening occurs, who defines the relevance criteria, and how frequently the director receives updates on ongoing investigations. Patel details that his team of advisors analyzes weekly reports and identifies cases requiring direct supervision. Lieu then asks whether the files related to Jeffrey Epstein fall into this category of national relevance. Patel confirms yes, given the magnitude of the case and the public interest involved. The congressman notes the response and moves to the next question. Did the director read the complete files or only executive summaries prepared by his team? There's a brief pause before the response. Patel states he read the summaries prepared by agents responsible for reviewing the material, as is standard procedure for cases of this nature. Lieu returns to the previous answer, where Patel had stated that important cases reach his desk. The congressman questions how it's possible to adequately supervise an investigation of national relevance without examining the primary documents, only summaries. Patel explains that the volume of material in the Epstein files is extensive, and that relying on syntheses prepared by specialized agents is common practice at the FBI. Lieu remains silent for a few seconds, allowing the response to be fully recorded before introducing a new element. An internal FBI review had allegedly identified 47 names of high-profile individuals in the Epstein files, including politicians, businessmen, and media figures. The congressman asks if the director is aware of this number. Patel responds that he's familiar with the mentioned document, but clarifies that it's a preliminary draft of an internal analysis, not a final report. Lieu asks how many names appear in the final report. Patel states he cannot provide that number in public hearing, citing issues related to investigative integrity and privacy of individuals who may not be under formal investigation. The congressman notes again and asks whether the number is greater than, less than, or equivalent to the 47 names mentioned in the draft. Patel repeats that he cannot comment on specific numbers in open session. Lieu shifts focus to the operational structure of the investigation. He asks how many FBI agents were assigned to analyze the Epstein files after his death. Patel consults notes before him and responds that between 10 and 11 agents were allocated to review the material, working in conjunction with federal prosecutors. The congressman requests that the director compare this number with the quantity of agents employed in domestic terrorism investigations or large-scale national security cases. Patel observes that terrorism investigations frequently mobilize hundreds or thousands of agents depending on the threat and operational urgency. Lieu asks whether the director considers 10 or 11 agents to represent a proportional resource allocation to the magnitude of the Epstein case given the number of victims, more than 250 according to public records, and the amount of material to be examined. Patel states that resource allocation is determined based on investigative protocols and needs identified by case supervisors. The congressman returns to the topic of the 47 names. He asks whether the FBI opened formal investigations into all individuals identified in the internal document. Patel responds that he cannot discuss ongoing or potential investigations. Lieu reformulates. He asks whether it's correct to state that at least some of the mentioned names were the subject of subsequent investigation. Patel repeats that he cannot confirm or deny specific investigations in public hearing. Lieu then raises the question of Epstein's so-called client list, frequently mentioned in public discussions about the case. He asks if such a list exists in FBI files. Patel denies the existence of a formal document titled client list. The congressman asks whether, regardless of the document's title, there are records identifying individuals who maintained relations with Epstein or visited his properties. Patel confirms that various names appear in the files, but reiterates that this doesn't constitute a formal client list. Lieu questions whether this terminological distinction between client list and various names that appear in the files has practical relevance for the victims or the public. Patel doesn't respond directly, stating that the FBI maintains its commitment to transparency within legal and operational limits. The congressman records the response and advances to the next topic. The hearing continues with Lieu directing attention to the circumstances of Jeffrey Epstein's death. He asks whether the FBI reviewed the conclusions of the New York Medical Examiner's Office, which classified the death as suicide by hanging. Patel confirms that the FBI had access to forensic reports and that there was no formal contestation of the official conclusions. Lieu mentions that independent forensic experts, including renowned pathologist Michael Baden, hired by Epstein's family, identified injuries on the body they considered more compatible with homicide than suicide. The congressman asks whether the FBI analyzed these divergent opinions as part of its case review. Patel responds that the agency examined all available information, including external reports, but that the official determination of cause of death is not the FBI's exclusive competency. Lieu asks whether, given conflicting forensic opinions on a case of such repercussion, the FBI conducted an independent investigation to resolve the discrepancy. Patel states that the FBI relied on the conclusions of competent New York authorities and that there's no evidence justifying reopening the investigation into the death. Lieu returns to the files. He asks whether the director can guarantee that all relevant documents related to Epstein will eventually be disclosed to the public, respecting applicable legal restrictions. Patel responds that part of the material will remain classified indefinitely due to considerations of national security, third-party privacy, and integrity of related investigations. The congressman asks what percentage of the files falls into these categories of permanent restriction. Patel states he doesn't have an exact percentage, but acknowledges that a substantial portion of the material will not be disclosed. Lieu asks whether substantial means more than half the files. Patel neither confirms nor denies, reiterating only that disclosure decisions are made case by case, following established protocols. The congressman questions whether the public should interpret this position